Have you ever stopped to wonder what it really feels like to live alone as you grow older? At first, I thought it would be this incredible sense of freedom, finally doing things my way, on my own terms. But as time went on, I started uncovering the hidden truths that no one talks about. From facing unexpected challenges like handling emergencies solo to finding ways to stay connected and fight off loneliness, it became clear that living alone is more than meets the eye. Yet, amidst those struggles, there are moments of beauty, small victories that make it all worthwhile. In this video, I'll open up about my personal journey and share practical tips to help you embrace the ups and downs of this unique path with strength and hope. Let's navigate this unique chapter of life together, with confidence and joy. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tips, stories, and wisdom. Now, let's dive into one of the first lessons I learned about living alone. You have to be your own safety net. When I first started living by myself, personal safety wasn't something I thought much about. But then, one day, I slipped in the kitchen while reaching for something on the top shelf. Thankfully, it wasn't a serious fall, but it was a wake-up call, a reminder that when you're on your own, you need to think ahead and take care of yourself in ways you might not expect. Let's talk about how you can prepare and protect yourself while embracing the independence that comes with living alone. Lying there for a moment, I realized something that changed my perspective on living independently as we age. If that fall had been worse, no one would have known. That moment was a wake-up call. It made me rethink what it truly means to live alone. The reality is, as we grow older, we don't always have someone around to notice if something goes wrong. I've read heartbreaking stories of older adults who fell and weren't found for hours, even days, because no one was there to check in. And it's not just about falls. Simple things like forgetting to lock the door or not hearing the smoke alarm in time can become serious risks when you're on your own. In this video, I'll share the lessons I've learned and practical steps you can take to create a safer and more connected life while embracing the freedom of living independently. After my fall, I knew I needed to make some changes to feel more secure and at ease living alone. One of the first things I did was start carrying my phone with me everywhere, even to the bathroom. It might sound excessive, but when it comes to safety, it's better to be prepared than regretful. I also invested in a smartwatch with a fall detection feature. It's a small change, but it brings immense peace of mind. A friend of mine took it a step further and installed a medical alert system that connects directly to emergency services. Another brilliant idea I came across was setting up a security camera at the front door. It not only helps him feel safer but also allows his family to check in remotely, giving everyone some extra reassurance. If you live in a remote area or are often on your own, these small adjustments can make a big difference in creating a safer, more connected life. Let me share more practical tips like these to help you embrace the independence of living alone with confidence and security. If you're living alone like I am, it's worth considering having a neighbor or close friend who can check in regularly, or at least give you a call now and then. These little precautions might seem unnecessary at first, but they can make all the difference when it comes to your peace of mind and safety. Living alone doesn't mean living without support. It simply means planning ahead to build that safety net. And speaking of planning, let's dive into another important topic: coping with loneliness. After setting up all the safety measures, I thought I had everything under control. But it didn't take long for another challenge to sneak in: loneliness. Let me share how I've learned to face this common struggle and find meaningful ways to stay connected and fulfilled while living independently. Loneliness is something I never thought I'd struggle with. As an introvert, I've always valued my own space and assumed that living alone would be a perfect fit for me. And for a while, it was. I loved the quiet mornings, the freedom to set my own schedule, and the ability to spend my time exactly how I wanted. But then, there were moments when the silence wasn't comforting, it was overwhelming. I remember one weekend in particular. It had been 3 days since I'd spoken to anyone. And for the first time, the quiet didn't feel peaceful, it felt isolating. I missed having someone to share even the simplest conversations with, like talking about the weather or sharing a smile over a cup of coffee. In this video, I'll open up about my journey with loneliness and share practical ways to stay connected, even when you're living alone. Because living solo doesn't mean you have to feel alone. There was a moment when I realized that no matter how independent we are, humans are wired for connection. It hit me during a weekend of complete silence. I found myself longing for even the simplest conversations, like chatting about the weather or deciding what to have for dinner. To combat this loneliness, I knew I had to make some changes. I joined a local community center that hosts weekly meetups for older adults. At first, it was nerve-wracking to put myself out there, but now I genuinely look forward to seeing familiar faces. I also brought a small dog, Charlie, into my life. Not only does he keep me company, but he also gets me out of the house for walks, meeting new people along the way. On top of that, I set a personal goal to call or video chat with family or friends at least once a week. These small but meaningful steps have transformed my days, reminding me that connection is always within reach. Even when living alone, connections truly make a big difference in our lives. Speaking of changes, there's another surprising challenge I faced while living alone: keeping up with my home. Let's dive into that next. Number 3. The comfort of daily routines. After finding ways to stay connected, I discovered another key to thriving while living alone: my daily routines. It might sound simple, but those small, everyday habits have brought me more comfort and joy than I ever imagined. When you're living on your own, it's easy to lose track of time without someone else's schedule to keep you anchored. But creating routines gave my days structure, purpose, and a sense of calm. Let me share how these little habits can make a big difference in finding peace and happiness in your solo journey. When you're living alone, the hours can blur together, leaving you feeling untethered. But I've learned that having a set routine can bring stability and a powerful sense of purpose to your days. Every morning, I start my day with a simple ritual: a cup of coffee on the porch. Rain or shine, I sit there, soaking in the quiet and watching the world come alive. It's such a small moment, yet it sets the tone for my entire day. Afternoon walks have also become a cherished part of my routine. They not only keep me physically active but also give me the space to clear my mind and reflect. Sometimes, I'll walk to the local park or stop by a nearby cafe, adding variety and connection to my day. These small habits have transformed my life, and they might do the same for you. Let me share how routines like these can help you find peace and purpose in your solo journey. Sometimes, I'll stroll to the park to chat with a neighbor or simply take a moment to admire the changing seasons. I've also learned the importance of flexibility in my schedule. Some days, I'll swap my walk for a longer gardening session, or treat myself to a quiet afternoon lost in a favorite book. It's all about creating habits that ground me while still leaving space for spontaneity. Daily routines provide structure, but they also remind me to savor life's simple pleasures, the small joys that make each day special. Speaking of finding balance, let's move on to another challenge: keeping up with home maintenance. It's an essential part of living alone, and I've discovered a few tips to make it more manageable. Let's explore that next. Staying physically active is something I've come to realize needs extra attention when living alone. My daily routines help me feel more grounded, but I noticed this aspect of life required a conscious effort. When I lived with my wife, we naturally encouraged each other to stay active, whether it was taking a walk after dinner or tackling household chores together. But now, without that built-in motivation, it's easy to slip into a more sedentary lifestyle. I'll admit, there were times when I spent entire afternoons on the couch, convincing myself I'd go for a walk later. But those moments taught me an important lesson about how intentional effort can help you not only stay active but also embrace the freedom and joy of moving your body. In this video, I'll share the strategies I've found to keep myself moving and how they've transformed my days. There were so many times I told myself, I'll go for a walk later, only to realize that the entire day had slipped away. Over time, I began to notice stiffness in my joints and a lack of energy that seemed to creep into every part of my day. But it wasn't just my body that suffered. Being inactive took a toll on my mood as well. That's when I realized it was time to take charge of my physical well-being. I started small, committing to daily walks around the neighborhood. On mornings when I lacked motivation, my dog, Charlie, became my secret weapon. He wouldn't let me skip his walk. Before I knew it, walking turned into a daily ritual that both of us cherished. To add some variety and keep things interesting, I joined a gentle yoga class, and it's been a game changer. These small steps have not only improved my physical health but also lifted my spirits. proving that taking care of yourself can be both simple and rewarding. I remember joining a gentle yoga class at the local community center. At first, I wasn't sure if it was for me, but those stretches have done wonders for my flexibility. What's more, the group setting gave me a chance to connect with others, adding a sense of community I didn't realize I was missing. Even simple activities like gardening or choosing the stairs over the elevator can make a big difference. The key is to keep moving, no matter how small the effort might seem. Physical activity isn't just about staying fit, it's about maintaining independence and feeling truly alive. Speaking of independence, let's talk about another challenge I faced while living alone: cooking for one. It's a unique hurdle, but one I found creative ways to overcome. Let's dive into that next. Let me share how I turned what felt like a challenge into a truly rewarding experience. 5. Cooking for one. After finding ways to stay active, I shifted my focus to another important aspect of living alone: cooking. When my wife was still with me, preparing meals was something we genuinely enjoyed doing together. She would take charge of the main dish, while I handled the side dishes or set the table. But after I started living alone, cooking quickly lost its charm. It felt more like a chore than a pleasure. I found myself relying too much on frozen dinners or, worse, skipping meals altogether. One evening, as I sat reheating yet another frozen meal, I realized something needed to change. I decided to approach cooking not as a task, but as an opportunity to care for myself. It became a creative outlet, a way to explore new recipes and flavors, and a chance to nourish my body and spirit. Let me share how I transformed cooking for one into a joy-filled experience. One evening, as I sat down to the same microwave meal for the third night in a row, it hit me: I deserved better. Cooking isn't just about eating, it's an act of self-care. A way to show yourself that you're worth the effort. So, I decided to make a change. Preparing a proper meal became my way of reminding myself of my own value. I started small, experimenting with simple, healthy recipes that didn't feel overwhelming. I learned to batch cook on weekends, making a big pot of soup or chili that could be portioned out for several meals during the week. It made it so much easier to have something nutritious ready without the daily hassle. I also found inspiration in a cookbook designed for solo cooking. It transformed my perspective, turning what once felt like a chore into a creative and rewarding experience. Let me share how these changes have not only improved my meals but also brought joy and fulfillment back to my kitchen. I discovered a cookbook tailored for cooking for one, and it changed everything. The recipes were simple, easy to follow, and didn't leave me drowning in leftovers. Over time, I began to genuinely enjoy the process, chopping vegetables, seasoning to my own taste, and even taking the time to plate my meals beautifully. Cooking became more than just a way to feed my body. It became a way to connect with my past and take pride in my independence. Every meal I prepared reminded me that living alone doesn't mean compromising on the little joys in life. Speaking of independence, there's another challenge that comes with living alone: maintaining your home. It's a topic worth diving into, so let's explore that next. 6. Maintaining the home. After finding my rhythm in the kitchen, I turned my attention to the next important aspect of living solo: keeping my home in order. Let's talk about how to make this both manageable and rewarding. I soon realized that maintaining my home was another area where living alone brought its own set of unexpected challenges. When I was younger, tasks like mowing the lawn, cleaning the gutters, or fixing a leaky faucet didn't seem like a big deal. But as I've grown older, those same tasks have become harder to manage. I'll never forget one summer afternoon when I decided to clean out the garage. What I thought would be a quick and simple job turned into an all-day ordeal, leaving me sore and exhausted for days. That experience was a wake-up call, a reminder that I couldn't keep doing everything on my own the way I used to. It's not about giving up, though. It's about finding smarter ways to maintain your independence without wearing yourself out. Let me share the strategies I've discovered to tackle home maintenance in a more manageable and fulfilling way. These days, I've learned to approach home maintenance with a smarter mindset. For heavier tasks like repairing the roof or deep cleaning the house, I've started hiring professionals. It's not just an investment in getting the job done, it's an investment in my safety and peace of mind. For smaller chores, I've realized that asking for help from family or friends isn't as hard as I once thought. My neighbor, for example, kindly offered to help me trim the hedges in exchange for a little advice on his garden. It reminded me that living alone doesn't mean you have to handle everything by yourself. Accepting help or delegating tasks isn't a sign of weakness. It's a way to make home maintenance more manageable and even enjoyable. Let me share how embracing this mindset has made a world of difference for me. Making home maintenance less daunting has been a game changer. Speaking of balance, let's explore another unique aspect of living alone: finding peace in the quiet. 7. Embracing the quiet. After figuring out how to manage my home, I was reminded of one of the most striking parts of living alone: the quiet. At first, it felt like a mix of comfort and unfamiliarity. I loved finally being able to enjoy a peaceful cup of coffee without interruptions. But there were also evenings when the silence felt overwhelming, almost too loud in its stillness. Living alone has taught me something profound. Silence can be a teacher. It gives you the space to reflect, to listen to your own thoughts, and to truly connect with yourself. Let me share how I learned to embrace the quiet and turn it into a source of strength and serenity. Silence can be both a friend and a foe. On good days, it's a gift, a chance to reflect, recharge, and truly appreciate the slower pace of life. I've come to cherish simple moments, like sitting on my porch at sunset, letting the sounds of nature wash over me. But on harder days, especially when I've gone long stretches without speaking to anyone, the quiet can feel isolating. To find balance, I've discovered small ways to break the silence. Listening to podcasts while doing chores has been a game changer. It's like having a friendly voice in the background. In music, it's become a constant companion, filling my space with energy and emotion, transforming even the loneliest moments into something meaningful. Music has become a daily companion in my life. Whether it's a soothing classical playlist in the morning or upbeat tunes while I cook dinner, it fills my space with energy and comfort. I've also made it a habit to call my kids or an old friend a few times a week, just to stay connected. The quiet of living alone doesn't have to feel overwhelming. With the right adjustments, it can become a gift, a source of clarity and peace in an often chaotic world. Next, let's explore another important aspect of living alone: how to maintain a sense of time and rhythm in our days. 8. Managing time. After learning to embrace the quiet, I noticed a new challenge: the unique way time seems to flow when you're on your own. Let's talk about how I've tackled this and found ways to create a meaningful daily rhythm. Managing my time without the natural rhythm of a partner's schedule or the hustle and bustle of a busy household has been a unique challenge. Some days, the hours felt endless. I remember glancing at the clock one afternoon, certain it was late, only to be shocked that it was just 2 p.m. The day felt like it was dragging on forever. Without structure, time can feel aimless. Without tasks or responsibilities to anchor your day, it's easy to slip into a routine of simply sitting around, letting the hours pass unnoticed. That was when I realized I needed to create my own sense of rhythm, a structure to bring purpose and meaning to my days. Let me share how I discovered ways to build a fulfilling daily routine that keeps me motivated and inspired. Finding meaning in my days has been a transformative journey. Now, I follow a loose but reliable schedule that keeps me grounded and fulfilled. I start each morning with a peaceful cup of coffee on the porch, soaking in the stillness of the world waking up. After that, I make it a point to tackle one specific task before lunch. It might be something simple like grocery shopping, sorting through old photos, or taking my dog, Charlie, for a long walk. In the afternoons, I dedicate time to my hobbies. I've taken up painting again, something I hadn't done in decades. Rediscovering this passion has been a joy. Knowing I have these small goals every day keeps me motivated and engaged. Having a structure doesn't just help pass the time, it brings purpose, connection, and a sense of accomplishment to each moment. Each day, I've discovered the power of creating structure, not just in my schedule but also in my living space. Let's talk about how decluttering can bring clarity to both your home and your mind. 9. Decluttering and organizing. As I worked to bring more structure to my days, I realized that my living space also needed some attention. Over the years, I had accumulated so many things: old photo albums, furniture, and knickknacks from vacations. Before I knew it, my home felt more like a storage unit than a place of comfort. The hardest part of decluttering wasn't the physical effort, it was the emotional attachment to so many of these items. Each piece seemed to hold a memory, a story, or a connection to a moment in time. But as I slowly worked through it all, I discovered that letting go of the clutter didn't mean letting go of the memories. It brought a sense of clarity, freedom, and peace to my home and my mind. Let me share how this process transformed my space into a sanctuary. I remember standing in my garage, holding an old lamp that hadn't worked in years. It had belonged to my parents. And even though I had no practical use for it, letting it go felt like losing a piece of them. That's the true challenge of decluttering, when you've lived a long life. Every object seems to carry a story, a memory, or a connection to someone you love. To make the process easier, I started following a simple rule: if it doesn't bring me joy or serve a purpose, it's time to let it go. Some items, like my old typewriter, I donated to a local charity, knowing it might bring someone else happiness and a fresh start. This approach has helped me not only free up my space but also find peace in knowing that these objects can continue their journey with someone who will appreciate them. Some items, like my late wife's sewing kit, I chose to give to family members who would cherish them and carry on her memory. Now, my home feels lighter, more welcoming, a true sanctuary. The process wasn't easy, but it taught me an important lesson: to focus on the present rather than holding on to every piece of the past. Speaking of staying connected to the present, let's talk about something equally important: creating a fulfilling social life while living alone. 10. Creating a social life. After decluttering my home and transforming it into a more inviting space, I realized there was another challenge I needed to address: maintaining an active and meaningful social life. Let me share how I've navigated this and found ways to stay connected and engaged. When my wife was still alive, our lives were filled with family gatherings, church events, and dinners with friends. But as the years went by, those invitations started to dwindle. It wasn't that people didn't care. Life simply got busy for everyone. Family members had their own commitments, and friends moved away or faced their own health challenges. At first, I found myself waiting for the phone to ring or for someone to invite me somewhere. But then it hit me: if I wanted to stay socially connected, I couldn't just wait, I had to take the initiative. Instead of longing for connections, I started hosting small gatherings at home. These moments of laughter, conversation, and shared memories rekindled my sense of belonging and showed me that staying socially active starts with a simple step forward. I started hosting small gatherings at my house, inviting a few friends over for coffee and conversation or organizing a game night with my neighbors. These simple moments brought so much joy and connection. I even took it a step further by starting a Sunday afternoon walking group, where we explored different trails in the area. One of the most rewarding decisions I made was joining a book club at the local library. It gave me something to look forward to each month and introduced me to new people who share my love of reading. Taking charge of my social life didn't just help me feel less isolated, it reignited a sense of purpose and connection in my everyday life. Living alone doesn't mean being lonely. It's a unique opportunity to build connections on your own terms. And speaking of taking care of yourself, let's explore something truly transformative: the importance of self-care and how it can enrich your daily life. 11. Prioritizing self-care. After finding ways to stay socially connected, I realized something just as important: taking care of myself was crucial. 2. When you live alone, it's easy to let self-care slip through the cracks. No one is there to notice if you skip a shower, stay in the same clothes for days, or settle for a bowl of cereal for dinner. But I discovered that self-care is more than just hygiene or meals. It's about honoring yourself and creating a life you feel proud of. Let me share how prioritizing self-care transformed not only my routine but also my sense of well-being and self-worth. It's easy to fall into the trap of neglecting yourself when no one else is watching. I remember a time when I did just that. I'd tell myself, "Who's going to notice if I don't shave today?" Or, "Why bother cooking a proper meal just for me?" But over time, I began to feel the toll it took, not just on my physical health but on my sense of self-worth. That's when I made a decision. Self-care had to be a priority again. Now, I start each morning by getting dressed. Even if I don't have anywhere to go. It's a small act, but it sets the tone for my entire day. It reminds me that I'm worth the effort. And it brings a sense of purpose and pride to even the quietest moments. Taking the time to care for myself makes me feel more grounded and put together. I've also made space for activities that nurture my mind and soul. A short walk in the park helps clear my thoughts. While lighting a candle and curling up with a good book in the evening feels like a small, well-deserved indulgence. Living alone is an opportunity to focus on yourself in ways you may not have before. It's not about luxury, it's about reminding yourself that you're worth the effort. And speaking of making the most of life, let's bring everything together as we wrap up this journey. Living alone as an older adult is a chance to embrace independence, find purpose, and rediscover what truly matters. Living alone as an older adult is a journey filled with both challenges and rewards. It offers a unique sense of freedom and independence, but it also calls for thoughtful preparation and self-awareness. From staying physically active and connected to others, to creating meaningful routines and taking care of yourself, each step helps build a life that's both fulfilling and secure. I hope the tips and insights shared in this video inspire you to embrace this chapter of life with confidence and grace. Share your own experiences or advice in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more inspiration and practical tips. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom, inspiration, and practical tips designed to help you live your best life. This journey is yours to embrace, and we're here to support you every step of the way.